right, this is page 2 of the shapes of distribution. So page 1, we just focused on the shapes, where page 2, we're actually going to first create the histogram and then analyze it. All right, so to create a histogram, we are given a bunch of data that was collected. In this case, it was the ages of 2 different events. And when you have a lot of data like this, you don't just go 1, 2, 3, 4, because it doesn't group up nicely. Your graph has to be huge. It's kind of difficult. So we usually do intervals. So in this case, 0 to less than 5, 5 to less than 10, 10 to less than 15. So we do these intervals. So then you just count how many of these numbers belong in each interval. So the first interval is 6, because notice it says less than 5. So the 5 is not in the first interval, it's in the second interval. So there are 14 numbers in the second interval. 0, 2, 2, 1, a bunch of zeros, and then there are 3 large numbers here at the end. So for a histogram, the x-axis is a number line. So this is a number line, so use these numbers. I went by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, up to 60. So that's age. The y-axis is the frequency. How often, these are our frequency. How often did that interval get used? So in this case, the first interval is from 0 to 5, and there were 6. So I draw a rectangle that goes up to 6. The second interval has 14. So from 5 to 10, I drew a rectangle that goes up to 14. Then 0, 2, 2, 1, a whole bunch of zeros, and then 3. All right, so event 2, I'm going to do the same thing. So there were none in the first interval, then 1, 1, none in that interval, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 1, 2, 5, 7, 5. So this one's much more spread out. And again, the x-axis is the number line, and you just use the intervals, so 5, 10, 15, 20. The y-axis is the frequency, how often did each one. And even though our largest number here is 7, I still went up to 15 because we want to compare these two. So it's easier to compare them if you use the same axes. So again, from this interval, just went up to 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So we just draw rectangles, 55 to 60. From 55 to 60, you draw a rectangle that goes up to 5. All right, then it says to compare the two distributions. Now that doesn't mean describe them individually. Compare them, you have to actually talk about them in the same sentences. Okay, so I said event 1 is right skewed while event 2 is left skewed. Overall, the people at event 2 are older than those at event 1. So we compare them. In each sentence, we talk about both events and compare them to each other. And then this is kind of the fun part. What might the two events be? So this is that part where you just kind of have fun with it. So since there were a lot of young people at event 1, I said, oh, maybe it was a child's birthday party. There were quite a few older people at event 2, so I said, oh, maybe it's a bingo game. Who knows? You could say a lot of other things. And that finishes up page 2 of distributions.